Hi, I'm Justin Catroni.
And I'm Krista Seiden.
We'll be the instructors for Google Analytics for Beginners, an online introductory course for those who have never used Google Analytics or need to brush up on some core topics.
We'll begin with what Google Analytics is and why it's important. We'll look at how to create an account and implement Google Analytics. And we'll discuss how to read basic reports, set up dashboards, track online conversions, and even perform basic analyses.
Google Analytics for Beginners will also provide access to a Google Analytics demo account with real e-commerce data, along with exercises to help you better understand analytics features.
While the course examples will focus on a website for an e-commerce store, the content is equally applicable to different kinds of businesses like online publishers, support sites, and lead generation sites.
Join us to learn the basics of Google Analytics by registering on Analytics Academy. Hi, I'm Justin Catroni.
And I'm Krista Seiden.
We're analytics advocates at Google. Welcome to Google Analytics for Beginners. In this course, we'll take you through a basic understanding of Google Analytics.
We'll show you how to create and implement an account, set up views and filters, read basic reports, set up dashboards, perform basic analysis, and set up goals and campaign tracking.
To begin, let's start by defining digital analytics and why it's important. So Krista, what's the deal with digital analytics?
Well, Justin, people usually purchase goods in stages. In marketing, we have the concept of a purchase funnel. There are different stages within the funnel that describe customer interactions. A basic purchase funnel includes the following steps. Acquisition involves building awareness and acquiring user interest. Behavior is when users engage with your business. And conversion is when a user becomes a customer and transacts with your business. In the offline world, this process can be hard to measure. But in the online world, we can measure many different aspects of the funnel using digital analytics. We can track what online behavior led to purchases and use that data to make informed decisions about how to reach new and existing customers.
Think about an online store such as the Google Merchandise Store. It might have a goal to sell more t-shirts. Using digital analytics, the store could collect and buy a lot of shirts, and then run additional advertising campaigns in those areas. They could also use analytics to understand how users progress through their online shopping cart. If they notice that users have trouble with a particular step on their website, they can make changes to the site to resolve the problem.
Different kinds of businesses can benefit from digital analytics. Publishers can use it to create a loyal, highly engaged audience and to better align on-site advertising with user interests.
E-commerce businesses can use digital analytics to understand their customers' online purchasing behavior and better market their products and services.
And lead generation sites can collect user information for sales teams to connect with potential leads.
While we've primarily talked about collecting data from a website, Google Analytics can also collect behavioral data from a variety of systems, such as mobile applications, online point-of-sale systems, video game consoles, customer relationship management systems, or other internet-connected platforms.
This data is compiled into analytics reports, which you can use to perform in-depth analysis to better understand your customers and their purchase journey. Then, you can test out new solutions to improve your business. So Justin, for someone who's never used Google Analytics, how does it work exactly?
Remember that Google Analytics is a platform that collects data and compiles it into useful reports. To track a website, you first have to create a Google Analytics account. Then, you need to add a small piece of JavaScript tracking code to each page on your site. Every time a user visits a page, the tracking code will collect anonymous information about how that user interacted with that page. For the Google Store, the tracking code could show us how many users visited a page that sells drinkware versus a page that sells housewares. Or it could tell us how many users bought an item like an Android doll by tracking whether they made it to the purchase confirmation page.
But the tracking code will also collect information from the browser, like the language the browser is set to, the type of browser, such as Chrome or Safari, and the device and operating system used to access the Google Store. It can even collect the traffic source, which is what brought users to the site in the first place. This might be a search engine, an advertisement they clicked on, or an email marketing campaign.
Keep in mind that every time a page loads, the tracking code will collect and send updated information about the user's activity. Google Analytics groups this activity into a period of time called a session. A session begins when a user navigates to a page that includes the Google Analytics tracking code. A session ends after 30 minutes of inactivity. If the user returns to a page after a session ends, a new session will begin.
When the tracking code collects data, it packages that information up and sends it to Google Analytics to be processed into reports. When Analytics processes data, it aggregates and organizes the data based on particular criteria, like whether a user's device is mobile or desktop, or which browser they're using.
But there are also configuration settings that will allow you to customize how that data is processed. For example, you might want to apply a filter to make sure your data doesn't include any internal company traffic, or only includes data from a particular country or region that's important to your business.
And Justin, one very important thing to remember.
What's that?
Once Analytics processes the data, it's stored in a database where it can't be changed.
Great point, Krista. So remember, when you set up your configuration, don't exclude any data you think you might want to analyze later. Once the data has been processed and stored in the database, it will appear in Google Analytics as reports. We'll show you what these reports look like a little later.
Now that you know how data gets collected, let's look at how Google Analytics accounts are organized. All of your Google Analytics accounts can be grouped under an organization, which is optional. This allows you to manage multiple Google Analytics accounts under one grouping. Large businesses or agencies could have multiple accounts, while medium to small size businesses generally use one account. When you create an account, you also automatically create a property, and within that property, a view for that account. But each analytics account can have multiple properties, and each property can have multiple views. This lets you organize your analytics data collection in a way that best reflects your business. The Google Analytics account determines how data is collected from your websites and manages who can access that data. Typically, you would create separate analytics accounts for distinct businesses or business units. Each Google Analytics account has at least one property. Each property can collect data independently of each other using a unique tracking ID that appears in your tracking code. You may assign multiple properties to each account so you can collect data from different websites, mobile applications, or other digital assets associated with your business. For example, you may want to have separate properties for different sales regions or different brands. This allows you to easily view the data for an individual part of your business. But keep in mind, this won't allow you to see data from separate properties in aggregate. Just as each account can have multiple properties, each property can have multiple views. You can use a feature called filters in your configuration settings to determine what data you want to include in the reports for each view. For example, the Google Store sells merchandise from their website across different geographical regions. They could create one view that includes all of their global website data. But if they wanted to see data for individual regions, they could create separate views for North America, Europe, and Asia. If the Google Store wanted to only see data for external traffic that didn't include their own store employees, they could set up a view that filtered out internal traffic based on IP address. The view level also lets you set Google Analytics goals. Goals are a valuable way to track conversions or business objectives from your website. A goal could be how many users signed up for an email newsletter, or how many users purchased a product. We'll discuss goals and conversions in a later lesson. Be thoughtful when setting up your accounts, properties, and views because you can't change data once it's been collected and processed by Google Analytics. Before we move on to user access permissions, there are a couple of important things to note about views. New views only include data from the date the view is created and onwards. When you create a new view, it will not include past data. If you delete a view, only administrators can recover that view within a limited amount of time. Otherwise, the view will be permanently deleted. You can assign permissions to other users at the account, property, or view level. Each level inherits permissions from the level above it. For example, if you have access to an account, then you have the same access permissions to the properties and views underneath that account. But if you only have access permissions for a view, then you won't have permission to modify the property or account associated with that view. By clicking Admin, Google Analytics lets you set user permissions for managing users, edit, collaborate, or read and analyze. Managing users lets users add or remove user access to the account, property, or view. Edit lets users make changes to the configuration settings. Collaborate allows users to share things like dashboards or certain measurement settings. And finally, read and analyze lets users view data, analyze reports, and create dashboards, but restricts them from making changes to the settings or adding new users. How you configure your organization's accounts, properties, and views can affect how your data gets collected. Be thoughtful when setting up your Google Analytics implementation, and make sure you align your properties and views of the data you collect with your overall business structure. To see what views are currently available for a property, click the Admin tab at the top. Then, under View, click View Settings. You can see that when you first create a property, Analytics automatically sets up an unfiltered view called All Website Data. This contains all of the raw, unchanged data you collected for the property. We recommend changing the name to Raw Data, so you'll know that the data hasn't been filtered. To change the name, we'll simply type in the new name. Now click Save. Next, we'll set up a test view to test our settings. If we configure something incorrectly, we may inadvertently lose data we want to collect. So it's best to test all of our configurations in this test view first. To set up a test view, at the top left, click the View Selector pull-down menu. Then, select Create New View. We'll name this view Test View. Now click Create View. Notice that we are now in the test view for this property. Select View Settings. Then we'll scroll down. Under Bot Filtering, select Exclude all hits from known bots and spiders. This will help filter out bot traffic. Now click Save. Next, let's create the master view. This will be the view that we use to do all of our reporting and analysis. We can simply copy the test view and rename it. To copy the view, in the top right corner, click Copy View. We'll rename the view Master View. Now click Copy View. If you go into the View menu, you can see that we've successfully copied and created this new view. By copying the view, all of our settings and filters we created, like excluding bot traffic, will also be included in the new view. Now we have 3 views that can be used to back up our data, test new analytics configurations, and do our daily reporting and analysis. But we still need to add filters to determine what data we want analytics to display in each view. We'll first set up a common filter on the test view to exclude internal IP traffic. That way, we can measure online Google Store behavior strictly for external customers without any employee influence. In the right-hand column, under View, change the view selector from Master View to Test View. This will ensure we are creating our filters in the right view. Now click Filters. Then click Add Filter. We'll name this filter Exclude Internal Traffic. Analytics offers two kinds of filters: predefined and custom filters. Predefined filters are templates for the most common filters you'll use. Custom filters let you design a filter to include, exclude, or modify data. Since excluding data by IP address is common, Analytics offers a predefined filter for that, so we'll leave the filter type as predefined. Next, click Select Filter Type. Then select Exclude. Now, click Select Source or Destination. And select Traffic from the IP addresses. Finally, click Select Expression. And select That are equal to. Now, we'll type in the IP address we want to exclude. You can find your public IP address by opening a new tab and searching for What is my IP in Google. Now, we'll copy the IP address into the IP address field. At the bottom, click Save. Note that the filter we just created now shows up in the list of filters. Once we've saved this filter and applied it to a view, Google Analytics will check the IP addresses of traffic to the web property and exclude those that match the filter. It will take a little time for the filter to catch all of the traffic. To test that the filter is excluding internal traffic, click Reporting. Then, in the left-hand navigation, click Real Time. Now click Overview. This shows you a report of real-time traffic to your website. If you're on your internal network, you should notice that your internal user traffic should decline over the next 30 minutes. Once the filters have taken effect, Analytics won't collect any internal activity for the IP address you filtered. Once you've verified this filter is working in your test view, you can add it to your master view. Click on the Admin tab again. Then select the View pull-down menu. Select the Master View. Now click Filters. Then click Add Filter. Now, instead of Create New Filter, select the radio button for Apply Existing Filter. This will allow you to select from a list of filters you've previously created. Click Save. Now you can see that the filter is applied to the master view. Note that if you apply multiple filters to a view, each filter will be applied in the order that they appear in your filter settings. So if you have 2 filters, the data will pass through the first filter before passing through the second. So be mindful of the order in which you apply your filters. It's that easy to create or add predefined filters to views to make sure you're collecting and protecting the data you need.